to the next episode of EPM Chronicles and Confessions. We're with Ash Jain here. Ash, could you please introduce yourself on your EPM journey?
Sure. Thank you, Tim, for having me. So, hey, everybody. My name is Ash Jain. I'm based out of Houston. I've been in the EPM, CPM, whatever acronym you like, in this space for almost 23 years now. We'll be 24 starting next year. I'm based out of Houston and, have built two consulting companies from scratch in this whole EPM space, analytics space, and just love what the space offer to our customers, and I enjoy it.
Fantastic. So this question I ask everybody really, because what we do is very complex. EPM is a complex thing, and I find it immensely difficult still to explain it to my mom. I mean, that's been the biggest challenge of my life. So in that sense, how do you explain EPM to others outside the industry, or have you had any misconceptions what you do?
It's a funny question that you ask. People they don't get it, like, hey, what do you do, right? And then sometimes people who who are slightly sophisticated, I'll explain to them. But look, it's ultimately I have gotten it down to this. Look, every business needs to have a pulse on how they are making money, where they're making money, where they're incurring cost, and what are their channels, what their various ways they're selling, where are they producing things. So we give an organization ability to have all this information at their fingertips, right? And improve processes so that they're not just spending unnecessary time here and there. So just being able to make those decisions, being able to forecast accurately, everybody understands, hey, look, the numbers goes to Wall Street, right? That's how companies project. So that's the little explanation I give them, that if you would run a business of your own, like a lemonade stand, there is an expense, there's a revenue, there is a cost of renting a space. If you go that big, how would you do it? So we automate all that, right? And then I further add to kind of share the complexity, how complex these things get. You start getting into various currencies, global stuff, and then I sometimes give them example of Apple, right? Look, listen, yeah. Apple has all these stores, and they want to see how their business is doing on a daily basis, on hourly basis, perhaps real-time basis, right? I mean, that's going to be their competitive advantage, that how much they're selling, they need, so they can keep track of their inventory, keep track of what their costs are, how many support personnel they need in their store, you name it, right? So then people get it. It requires a little bit of explaining to do.
Cool, yeah. So what's been a kind of a significant challenge you've had in EPM, and how have you dealt with it?
The challenges within the EPM, they're typically two key. One is the misconception or taking it very lightly from the data perspective, right?
Sure.
Just at every complex engagement that we've been to, right? The data or data cleanliness or lack thereof has been the most challenging thing. Look, any sort of modeling that can be done in Excel, tools are getting very sophisticated these days. Sure. You can make anything happen, but if you don't have the right data, if you don't have the right foundational stuff, you don't have the right master data management strategies of complex organization, who are acquiring different companies, 4 times a year, right? If you not having, so there's a data element, and from the people side, not appreciating that, hey, the plumbing of the house needs to be in order. It's not like I cannot start doing modeling and give you a P&L, right? You need to have, for the longer term sustainability of your project, you need to have master data management strategies, governance strategies in place, and then of course, your financial statements, for the office of the CFO perspective, that needs to be in place, and the interconnectivity of it, right? And then, yes. And then all the upstream, downstream processes, like, that needs to be considered, right? You may have all sort of supply chain / operational type of things, that comes and impacts your financials. Okay, do you have that connectivity in place, right? From the sales perspective, what is your sales team doing, right? are all the various elements of your organizations, are they talking to each other, right? Is there, all those type of things. When people don't get it and they're like, what, can you do this project for me, in like 8 weeks, and we call it a day and just replicate these spreadsheets? It becomes slightly challenging, right? It feels like, we are not providing them the right value.
Fantastic. So could you share a standout success story in terms of EPM for yourself?
Yeah, one of the standout story that was also, I was fortunate, when I started my EPM journey, like, from the, starting my own business, my first business, I was very fortunate to be part of I can't name, share names, right? The organization, but the project champion of that $20 billion business, was a forward-looking individual. And we were given a blank slate, to put together master data management strategies across 75 source systems. These guys had, like pretty much everything that I've heard, they had it and then some. So, and they had, already some processes to bring them together. But we did some phenomenal things, by implementing data relationship management, which is one of the Oracle tool back then. Now it's called EDMCS or something like that. But what we were able to do is, by leveraging master data management strategies, some of the reporting requirements that the organization needed, some of the dimensionality, they never existed in the source system. So, we mapped, like, various elements of code block, of some of those source system, and came up with a way to provide them the reporting need, to satisfy that reporting need, as opposed to waiting, like typically what people say is, hey, we need just one ERP system, right? That gives us everything. And that's the, 5-7 year long journey. The business don't have time for that, right? So giving them all that capability to consume data, map it into the right segments, and give them visibility into the business from all income statement, balance sheet, cash flow perspective. And it's a global, complex business where, multi-currency was in play, and then, of course, consolidations project was also, part of the whole thing. So yeah, it was like it was a fulfilling project for us, because when we heard that, oh my gosh, it used to take us, almost 30 to 45 days before we start seeing some meaningful numbers. Now we are doing it every night. That was a very cool feeling.
Cool. Yeah. So what's the most rewarding part of your job, your work for yourself?
Look, the rewarding is, making an impact. Sometimes when you touch so many of these projects, every business needs EPM, right? So when you have done quite a few of these, and you're walking down a supermarket aisle, and you're like, oh my God, I've helped this company, that company, right? You're going to the highway, and you're like, hey, I've helped, this right here, and you show your kids all that. It's just very rewarding that in some way, shape, or form, our services, our product that we have created for the organization is helping them, right? It's helping people, doing the job that they got trained for. Look, nobody did their MBA to be jockeying in Excel, right? So, once we put these systems, right, then people are typically, applying their analytical skills, all the stuff that they have learned, right? So that's a very cool feeling, quite frankly. And the other thing I would say is, you learn business, right? Because, I mean, let's say you're, trying to do whether it's a $10 billion, $20 billion organization, or 100, like a hyper growth 50, 100, and they're growing, let's say, 40%, 50% year over year. You get to understand business. I think that's, I'm an entrepreneurial person by nature. And you have pretty much everything that you want to see under the hood of a business, like, what are the KPIs that,
Yeah.
somebody's looking for? Like, okay, how do they, how do they create sales channel? Like, how are they managing it? How are they, all those blocking and tackling of a real business. It's a real life case studies, right? I never did MBA, but that's the aspect of it, make me not miss that I never did MBA, because I'm seeing
Sure. Yeah.
businesses, like the core business, day in, day out. I think that's a very cool feeling.
Fantastic. So could you share some unexpected or humorous moments in your career?
It's always, in consulting, that's what I love. I've always been in consulting, and
Yeah.
because it's never monotonous, right? You're
Yeah.
always, meeting with different people. But the funny thing, and I would say not just an EPM, right, but in general, like sometimes when people say, oh, we are on the digital transformation journey, and lately, like in the last few years, technology has gotten better, and the expectation to deliver these projects have gotten nonsensical, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So somehow the customer is like, what, hey, let's get this thing done in 6 weeks and 8 weeks. I'm like, do you have a project charter? Yeah, we are doing digital transformation. And you start slicing those 6 weeks into different buckets of, like, what all needs to be done. Then we are looking at each other. Hey, is it realistic? Is your organization culture sustain these type of rapid decision making? Because at the end of the day, consulting company will do whatever we need to do, but there's a lot of, it's not a turnkey type of thing where you talk to somebody for a few days and then you disappear, come back, and hand them the keys, right? So just walking them through the journey, gets sometimes funny, like, and then be like, oh, okay, I think I know what you're saying, and then they add some time and make it more realistic. I think that's funny. The other slight funny thing is, like, EPM at one point in time, consistently I would get from folks as if it's just office of the CFO and that's what EPM is. I'm like, hey, what part of enterprise are we not clear about? Like, enterprise is not just
True.
office of the CFO. There's a lot going on, right? There's a sales, there's a supply chain, there's IT, there is marketing, and there's just a lot of elements that needs to be which are working together and should be working together, right? For a world-class organization. So just crafting the journey, sometimes it gets funny how people's eyes light up, and ultimately they appreciate what true EPM actually is.
Cool. So you're a very successful entrepreneur in EPM. You've started 2 successful businesses. What's been your inspiration behind these consultancies? I mean, what drives you?
Honestly, I started with some phenomenal organization. My career, like, started with Arthur Andersen, the world. Then I was with some mid-sized organization. But ultimately, what I see is the bigger an organization get, to be honest, right? And they lack consistency. They lack consistency of providing that value, that attention, and that consistent success, to the customer, right? And time and again, like, we would see that, it just like that case study that I was talking about, right? It was a company that has, like, major tier 1 businesses, right? 7, right? So the funny story would be that one business would be a proponent of company XYZ, right? And on their weekly status call, the same XYZ company is getting kicked out by the other business, right? And ultimately, they realize that, hey, this is not, it's a logo and the branding of the company, of course, it has some value, but ultimately, who is on the ground makes or breaks, your project. So I think just giving that consistent success rate, consistent attention, consistent value, I think was a key cornerstone where I saw that the bar was low and there's a great opening, and I started that, and collaborated with some like-minded individual, and
Sure.
was very fortunate. A lot of people followed me as become part of my team, and the journey has been phenomenal, right?
Cool. So it's a very competitive marketplace. We've got a lot of vendors, a lot of consultancies, a lot of people out there. How do you stay abreast of all the knowledge and information? What's your source of information to find out what's going on? What do you do?
Great question. Look, there's in general, there's just an onslaught of information out there, right? There's more information out there
Sure.
than what people know what to do with all that. But look, there are few, one thing I've been fortunate is, consciously or subconsciously, I could see the writing on the wall where things are headed, right? So like my first company was focused exclusively on Oracle Hyperion
Right.
technology, right? And when I started Axlytics, I started with Oracle, but then I saw that, hey, this is not where the organization of size will enjoy the bang for our buck and bang for our attention and bang for our investment. So that's when I got into Anaplan, right?
Right.
And then what the trend that I'm seeing is that things going to get challenging for consulting company, right?
Yeah.
Because with each passing year, the technologies are getting much more sophisticated. I mean, look, we used to do projects, which used to take 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
In the Oracle world, because there would be infrastructure elements, that you
Sure.
have to consider.
Yeah.
There would be project management and data integration, and then of course specialized consultants. All this stuff is slowly and surely just going away. So I think technology is always going to get better, but I think it's becoming non-negotiable. It has always been non-negotiable. Non-negotiable if you want to be a great EPM consultant to understand business. But going forward, not and now, like I think it's just imperative for folks to be exceptionally good at not just executing from the technical perspective, but understanding businesses, business and why somebody is implementing a project, and what is the value add, what are they showing, what is the outcome of that business, how they're expecting to use it. Believe me, people still don't think about that. They're like, okay, hey, what do I need to go and create this formula or a cal script or a business rule, and what the outcome I need to produce, right? They're very goal seeking, and that's fine, right? But and there's some phenomenal individual, like who can make this technology do whatever you want to do, but it's the pressure is there. Look, the projects are getting smaller, shorter.
Sure.
So right, so and the AI of the world's going to automate a lot.
Sure.
So understanding of business, collaborating with other like-minded people is almost imperative, right? To cross-sell and to add more value, right, across the organization. So you can be one and done type of thing. It has to be, okay, I'm doing today, let's call it EPM, but tomorrow, maybe I want to do some marketing projects, or there could be like a DocuSign, type of projects out there. So the cost of customer acquisition, has to be lowered. Otherwise, the pre-sales and the sales cycle, they're not getting any shorter, right?
No,
so you're still spending 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to find a deal, and then if it's going to be like, hey, 2 restores and 8 weeks, like, hey, WTF, right? So it's just not going to be sustainable. So I think I just see a lot of merging and collaboration, that has to be coming in the next few years, or this, the businesses, just the 1 or 2 man show type of thing, and how I've seen it like in past 5-10 years. That's going to get challenging. It's never binary. It's never all or none. Like, people would still do some phenomenal stuff, but I think that there are just a lot of headwinds, that can only be tackled by, entrepreneurials or entrepreneurs or novices who are new to the system, they just have to, if they want to do like independent consulting, they I would strongly recommend them to collaborate with people and lower that guard, right? It's okay to uh, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, people get so like, uptight about like, what, hey, what's going to happen, right? What?
Sure.
So look, a team will take you a whole lot more farther than, by, if you want to do something by yourself.
Fantastic. So some of the points you did touch on, but a lot of our audience are novices or coming to the industry, or people trying to change their EPM set or to learn another EPM. But also we've got companies at the moment implementing or think of implementing new EPM tools. What's your key advice for people trying to learn a new EPM tool or getting themselves more skilled or better? What's the best way to do this?
That's a fantastic question. And this is something that I give. Now I'm at a point where I have my nephew, nieces, and my own son, like, he's about to start college, next year.
So
So the thing, like, if somebody's a finance major or supply chain majors, or these EPM centric background type of major, and that's where their interest is. One thing I stress them is that, hey, make sure to shake hand with somebody who has done what you're doing once you get out of college. So I'm a little bit backing up a little bit, right? So I'm
sure.
starting from, sometimes they go, oh, like my son, he's like, oh, I want to do finance. Okay. And I'll try to just go a couple of inches down, and then he would not have a response. I'm like, first you should come to me, like, this is my
Yeah.
bread and butter, like, but teenagers are teenagers, right?
Sure.
um, again, going back to it, I think the business is the understanding of business needs to be appreciated, and also it's becoming more and more almost non-negotiable that you need to understand technology. So you need to
Completely.
understand both. If you're just going out and you want to be just a financial analyst, that journey, people do phenomenal stuff, but it's going to take you a lot longer to get to, let's say, director of FP&A or a VP of FP&A or a CFO. But if you go and look at whatever your field is, go to the Gartner Magic Quadrant for your field. So if
Completely,
you're
yeah.
a supply chain guy, go look at Gartner Magic Quadrant, look at the leader quadrant. And as you're, when you finish your degree, look at if that company has any of those tools. And if you have to decide between two companies, one has that tool or they're thinking about embarking on that tool set, go that way, right? Because that's gonna, in the long run will pay you handsomely, right? And also it's gonna expedite, your growth. So that's what I would say. But once people are already in, let's say they're like doing some job and they're early in their career, I would just say that what, always look out for the other side, right? Let's say if you're a
Completely, yeah.
supply chain professional, look at like how does all this demand planning, supply planning, inventory optimization, you go, you're living in a SKU level world. What does that mean to the finance, right? Just understanding that cross functional linkage and the impacts of it, I think is very crucial, and it will make you stand out from the pack.
Fantastic. So EPM has changed, evolving in itself in the last many years. If you had a crystal ball and you were to see what's going to happen in the next 5 years or so, what do you think is going to happen? What's going to be the major trends or the major developments that's going to happen in our industry in the next 5 years or so?
I think that I a little bit touched upon it. That
Yeah.
I'm just seeing it that we're going to have more data, right? We're producing more data, but with the help of AI and just the advancement of, the cloud and all the power behind the processing power
Yes.
that we are creating, right? Yeah, we'll tackle that data, right? But what I would say is, to the fellow EPM professionals or folks who are running EPM consultancies, like my personal prediction is that we can't be solo on a given technology, right? I think it needs to be, I'm typically an all-in kind of guy, right? But I'm seeing that, time has come where, you can't be just doing one thing. You have to diversify yourself in areas, which were linked to your area of expertise.
Sure.
Right. So there's one thing that I did, like I was always office of the CFO guy for 17 years of my career, but then I see that, hey, this thing is getting commoditized, so quickly, like, all those your typical finance projects. Then I got into supply chain, and we built a phenomenal reputation in supply chain planning, and it's much, it's a much more, it makes the deal size much more bigger, and
completely,
and also our people enjoy it a lot more. They get to understand, both sides of the equation, right? So that's what I would say. I think look forward, get out of your comfort zone, right? If you are, bring on board people or make them part of your team, people who have complementary skills, which maybe for a given industry, like industry focus, is also a very strong need of the hour, right? It's always been like that. Listen, but for now, like, but hey, business/industry expertise coupled with different areas of the enterprise that you want to tackle, and then be able to add value in each of those areas. I mean, that's gonna be the name of the game, right? And everybody's trying to figure it out. Big force of the world, they're like, oh my gosh, if AI or generative AI is gonna reduce, the workload and automate all the stuff, where we really make money by junior resources, and that's gonna get automated 30-40%.
Sure.
The cream, that's the profit we enjoy. Okay, how are we gonna deal with that, right? So it's interesting time, but I think it's going to create more opportunities, as well as things unfold.
Fantastic, Ash. It's been a pleasure talking to you today. It's been a great insight and also educational for the audience too. And it's really nice to see some of the insights you have, and especially from your experience, and hopefully your views on the future too. So thank you so much. Have a nice day, and definitely we'll be in touch and maybe do stuff in the future.
I appreciate the opportunity, Tim. I love this, and any of your audience, viewer, if they have ever, want to dig deeper into anything, that they're more than welcome to, ping me on LinkedIn.
Completely. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Have a good one. Take care.
Bye-bye.